Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the High School Sports Beat. I'm Dave Yates, and it's time now for the High School Notebook. And once again, as always, we're joined by Matt Trabold. Matt, thanks so much for hopping on board.
Thanks for having me on.
And for the first time in months, some good news coming out of Section 5 regarding sports this fall. Looks like the green light is going to go on September 28th.
Yes, so we are in a period right now with local fall high school sports in those low risk and moderate risk categories. For the higher risk, that is still definitely going to be at least in the spring, at least March, if not later. So those are possibly starting up, those low and moderate, in a couple weeks, depending on a lot of factors. So every week at the moment is going to have legitimate developments on this topic. And recently it seemed to be a little bit more positive, like you mentioned a second ago. So last week on the High School Notebook, we talked about how NISFA outlined the September 21st date for select fall sports return, and how the final decision, though, is that of individual school districts and their superintendents when it comes to their respective athletic teams. And the intention right now is to have sectional championships, which is something that Section 3 in Syracuse decided against recently. Then on that same Friday, a majority, around 65% of the school districts in the Monroe County Public School Athletic Conference, which is a huge league in high school sports around here, they had public releases out that afternoon, that night, that said September 28th as a return date. So an extra week to prepare before those couple weeks of practices before games would occur. So yes, a week later, but also on top of that, it's at least positive. At least it's setting a time. So it looks like for at least some schools, at the very least, fall sports might happen in those smaller risk groups. I also want to quickly mention Greece, the only district in the Monroe County League with 3 or more schools. Monday, September 14th, they opened up athletic recertification portal for fall sports athletes there in their district, and they announced that select fall sports group can begin in the district as well on September 28th, depending, though, on if the date gets approval at a board meeting on September 22nd. So like you said a second ago, at the start of all this, Dave, yes, September 28th might not be September 21st, but hey, at least it's seemingly positive news.
Talk about some of those kids that are, not so much in the fall, but come spring and winter, there's going to be some overlap there. There's going to be some choices some kids are going to have to make.
Absolutely, and it's going to be very on a case-by-case basis, but even like more minute on a player, on a family-by-family basis. What is going to happen if they're going to decide to kind of own in on one sport that looks like a more legitimate chance of them being able to get that offer in college, or if they're going to do, and there's plenty of people that are at those higher group levels that said, hey, playing a lot of different sports worked for me, but they weren't doing that over a much more condensed time like you're seeing right now.
And you're talking about kids that could legitimately come up with 4 varsity letters in one school year, which has never been a possibility before. Speaking of football, some guys from Section 5 who are deciding they're not going to wait as long as New York State is talking about until March to play football. They're going to take their show on the road.
Yeah, so something we have seen in the Section 5 area over the last few months is local football players transferring to schools in other states for reasons, including a hopefully better chance of playing high school football this school year in a more timely fashion. And that was before New York State did go ahead and postpone high school football to March 1st due to its higher risk during pandemic times. One of these moves to another state involved notable players from a few different teams heading to the same school in California. That's Victor Snow from Webster Schrader, Dave Yates from Eastridge, and Mackay Connor from University Prep. They all transferred to Inglewood High School in California. Now, Inglewood, very high profile. Not to say that the schools in Section 5 are not, but I just want to talk a second about, this used to be the high school home of the likes of Paul Pierce, Reggie Theus, Harold Miner, Coco Chris, etc. And the football team currently before these Section 5 guys came over had 11 players with Division I FBS offers and 7 from that group with Power 5 conference offers. So Snow from Webster Schrader, now formerly a Warrior there, is a wide receiver with interest from around 8 D1 programs himself right now, including Rutgers. So you have that Power 5 interest as well. And Davion Coffey, the former Lancer, he is a class of 2023 player that got more playing time by the end of last season with Eastridge as an underclassman. And another Section 5 standout is rumored to be joining them soon. So you're really seeing this big move.
That's a lot to put on a kid, too, to move across the country to play some football. But, if it's something they see as an opportunity, then more power to them to take advantage of them. Best of luck to them. Hey, Matt, as always, thank you so much for joining us. Look forward to seeing you once again next week. Take care, buddy.
Thanks for having me on.